If you're going to actually be a real judge and be decisive, not only do you have to be unerringly accurate in your decisions, but you have to be able to make decisions quickly, and they have to be supported by the facts and the equities. And if you can't do that in a timely, orderly manner, you better sell insurance. Not that there's anything wrong with selling insurance. I claim to know everything about the case. All right, I know what the media, I haven't seen the transcripts, I didn't listen to the testimony.
Video footage, did you see any of that?
No, all I know is what was in the media.
Tell us who you are.
I'm Rick Zweig, and I served on the Dade County Circuit Court criminal bench for 30 years. So I have some slight familiarity with how the legal system works, because I tried over 500 jury trials in my career. So not too many of them attract my attention, but this one was unique because I don't recall any cases previously where a government agency prosecuted somebody for just cajoling somebody to do something, encouraging somebody to do something that was ill-advised.
And what about the case of Charles Manson?
Well, he basically brainwashed people to act as his intermediaries.
But he didn't actually guarantee.
Lobiancos the night before, and then the following night when they killed Sharon Tate and 5 or 6 of her friends.
And she was pregnant.
And she was
like
Charles 8
Manson,
months pregnant.
But Charles Manson didn't actually
was not
do
there.
It. So he kind of used words.
That's right. Yeah, you could make somewhat of an analogy that there are some analogies between the various fact patterns.
So would it be that much different if you convinced one person to kill another person? Would it be that much different if you can convince one person to kill another person, that other person being themselves?
Yeah, well, I think it's more serious when A convinces B to kill C.
But if A convinces B to kill B, that's not...
I don't think it's as egregious, because there's not another person involved. But it's still, I think an argument can be made, it's pretty evil.
To me, I think 15 months is kind of like a slap on the wrist.
Yeah, I agree. I totally think it's a slap again.
And it's also a slap in the face of the family members of
surviving family members. Yeah,
Roy.
I mean, think about if you were the sister or brother or mother or father, and I'm not sure of the age of the victim, but somebody said he was 17.
He was 17.
Yeah, that's. See, she had the power, I think, to change that from a suicide to preventing somebody from committing suicide.
Well,
if she had done the right, equitable thing, he'd still be alive.
But it seems that her motives were not to help him so much as they were to play like a grieving girlfriend.
Her motives were to get her rocks off at the expense of his life. That's intrinsically evil. That's a horrible thing to do. That's why she has to be incarcerated.
So what did she gain out of it? Was the attention. Even the attention she's getting now is probably in some backwards way.
One thing the judge did, which I totally agree with, I'm not sure if the judge is responsible for this or for the state, but they wrote into the order of probation that she goes on when she's released that she is unable to financially benefit from anything related to this case. In other words, if somebody decides to make a movie of the case or make a movie of her...
Yeah, well, she shouldn't. Because she's already getting off the hook without really paying much of consequence.
Well, she's paying some price.
15 months in jail, I'm sorry, is not that long. 15 months goes by really fast. When you're 17, it seems like it's long.
But when you're in I disagree with that.
15 months?
I disagree with it because I was in the Army 3 years, and that 3 years seemed like a friggin' eternity. Okay? I mean, I never thought that 3 years would come to an end. But you are correct about one thing. When you're young, when you're like 17 or 18, the time goes much slower. 15 months to not have your freedom to be incarcerated is no walk in the park.
No, she might get a little shaken up, but it's not what she deserves. She deserves
I agree.
More like 7 to 10.
Well, I would have given her 10. You would have given her 7, okay?
I would have wanted her to serve at least 7. I thought what the prosecution recommended, 7 to 12.
The judge undercut the state.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. I can't tell you.
Probably political reasons.
Well, I don't know. I would think not. I would think that the judge...
Nowadays, they blame everything on mental illness.
What was the defense in the case, do you know? They didn't claim insanity. They didn't claim...
No, they just claimed, they just didn't take responsibility. I guess they made excuses for it. And that's why they went with a judge instead of a jury.
Oh, there was no jury?
jury
Oh, I didn't know
would
that.
have hung that girl.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Like once they heard
No.
and saw the text, did you see any of those text messages?
No, I did not, but I think I would have loved to have defended that case. I think that was an easy winner for the defense. I didn't know that. I would never have waived jury in that case.
They had everything on text message.
So what? But the argument I'm going to make is that everybody's responsible for their own life.
But have you ever been manipulated by a girl?
No,
Never?
I'm the one who does the manipulating.
Do you believe that there are guys out there or people out there that can be manipulated by other
Absolutely
people?
correct. Yes, I do.
She manipulated him
Yes.
for her own gain, just to
Yes.
get attention or whatever
Well,
it was.
Because she's evil, I
But
think.
she didn't care. Ultimately, if you cared
Right,
about him,
she
there would
did
have been
not
something.
care.
You would have reached out to the family.
She
But not only did she
Did
not
not care.
care, what I see is that she wanted him to die more than he wanted to kill himself. And because of that, that pushed him to the point of killing himself. Because he had a
Maybe.
girl that he was trusting and loving and looking up to for support. And she, instead of giving him that support,
betrayed him.
twisted it around, used everything, it played games with his mind to make him think that he was pleased. She made him promise that he was going to do it that day and then said, you can't break a promise to me. You know, she used guilt, she used manipulation. He got scared and got out of the car while the carbon monoxide was taking effect.
She betrayed
And
him.
he got out of the car to save his life, and she bullied him to get back in the car and said, get back in the car.
She betrayed him.
Basically, I mean, have you ever had a girl tell you, oh, you're not a man because you don't do this or you don't do that, and then the man has to prove himself to the girl in that?
In the course of my life, I really tried to avoid those kinds of situations. You know, I was more selective and careful about the women I associated with. And you know, if I sense that in a female, I just, adios, I'm going. I don't want to be around somebody like that.
But how many cases did you see of young guys who were standing before you in trouble with the law because of a fight that they had with a girl?
A surprisingly large number, actually. It was one of the most famous cases I was involved in. They referred to her in the media as a gangsta, 21-year-old, heavy-set African-American girl from Liberty City who was the head of a gang that targeted European tourists who had come to Miami. They recognized that they were tourists by the license plate number that they got from the rental car agency. So they would follow these people from the airport, and then they would rob them and then kill them. And she was the leader of this gang. She was a 20-year-old black girl. 25 years ago, maybe 25, 30 years ago, but at the time it was heavy duty. And she got convicted in my court of robbery and murder. And ended up getting a whole bunch of consecutive life sentences that we nailed her with. She was the leader of the gang. That's why it was so unusual.
What is the involuntary for? Because she was very voluntary in what she did.
Well, involuntary because she didn't do anything of a physical nature. She did not lift a hammer, pull a trigger, plunge a knife,
Okay, so then how do guys like Charles Manson, who didn't lift a finger, a knife, anything, get murder charges?
Well, number one, each state has its own code of criminal justice.
So that was California versus...
That's correct. Every state is different.
Versus Boston,
When you're prosecuted in state
Massachusetts, or...
court, it depends, which state you're in. Texas is a lot different than Massachusetts. And California is a lot different from Florida. Some states have a death penalty, some states don't.
So then that's why you have all these different opinions. You have these people on the legal end saying she shouldn't have been charged. If this girl didn't actually pick up a weapon, she wasn't actually physically there, yeah, she just coerced this guy to commit suicide. Just because he had suicidal tendencies before doesn't mean he wasn't going to eventually do it at some point, but she actually took an opportunity to help somebody and turned it into an opportunity to ensure that there was nobody to help him, and manipulated the family and played a victim and did all sorts of things to get attention based on his death. Anyone who would argue for her would have to side with guys like Charles Manson, who didn't actually pick up a weapon or go to the scene of the crime or do anything, or guys like Hitler, maybe Hitler did pick up a weapon and do something, but I don't know.
No, I've never heard that.
But the whole idea is, supposing he didn't, then they'd have to side with Hitler. A bunch of Nazis would take Michelle Carter's position of support. Bunch of Nazis.